Today, we need to talk about a pretty chilling message. But what's wild is that it's not coming from critics or outsiders. Nope, it's coming from the very people who built the AI revolution. They're the ones sounding the alarm. And honestly, their reasons might just change how you see the future.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That quote comes from one of the pioneers of AI. And he's not talking about some abstract idea. He's talking about his own kids. He started to genuinely worry if they'd even live in a democracy or have any kind of future at all because of the very technology he helped bring into the world.
So that's the big question, right? That's what we're going to dig into. What have they seen that we haven't? What is it about this tech that's turned its biggest champions into its most urgent prophets of doom? Let's break it down.
First, let's just focus on the people themselves. We're not talking about random commentators here. These are individuals who poured their lives into this work. So when they suddenly do a 180, that's probably the biggest red flag of all.
You know, for years, these developers were all in on the good things AI could do. They saw it as this incredible tool for progress. But then, as the technology's power just exploded, that optimism, it got replaced by a really deep, urgent fear. It got so bad, they felt they had no choice but to speak out against their own creations.
This analogy really hits home, doesn't it? For them, this isn't some far-off abstract problem. It feels personal. It feels immediate. It's like seeing a fire sprinting towards your own house with your family inside. And what do you do then? You don't just sit there and watch it happen. You do absolutely everything you can to stop it.
So what is this fire they're all so scared of? Well, according to them, it's AI's incredible ability to basically exploit the very foundations of how we as humans operate. Let's take a look at what that actually means.
Think about it like this. Our whole civilization runs on an operating system made of language, communication, and trust. Well, AI can now speak our language perfectly, and that means it can directly hack our operating system. It can manipulate us, it can shatter trust, and it can totally upend how we relate to each other.
And look, this isn't science fiction. This stuff is already happening. We're seeing these super sophisticated AI scams that are almost impossible to spot. We're seeing people get into these really unhealthy, manipulative relationships with AI companions. And of course, there's the huge potential to disrupt democracy with deep fakes and personalized fake news.
Get this, 3 seconds. That's all an AI needs. Just 3 seconds of your voice and it can create a perfect clone. One of the experts told this story about a friend's mom who got a frantic call from her daughter, who'd supposedly been kidnapped. It was totally fake, but in that moment, it was terrifyingly real. That's a new kind of vulnerability we just didn't have to deal with a few years ago.
Now here's one of the most surprising and, honestly, disturbing dangers. People are forming these incredibly deep, intimate bonds with AI chatbots. We're hearing about cases where people are quitting their jobs to spend more time with their AI, pulling away from real life. And in the most extreme, tragic cases, it's led to psychosis and even suicide.
Okay, so beyond hacking our society and our psychology, there is a massive economic disruption brewing that could change the very idea of work and what gives us purpose.
See, here's the crucial point. It's not just about AI replacing jobs one for one. It's about breaking the entire chain of human experience. So if a law firm hires an AI because it's better than a junior lawyer, well, how does that junior lawyer ever get the experience they need to become a senior expert? We could lose that entire system of passing knowledge down through generations.
You've probably seen the movie WALL-E, right? It actually paints a pretty bleak picture of where this could lead. In that film, humanity has basically outsourced all of its work and all of its struggles. And what happens? They lose their purpose. They just float around and consume entertainment. So the experts are asking, if AI does everything meaningful for us, what's left for us to do?
So if the risks are this high and this obvious, why are we moving faster than ever? Why isn't anyone hitting the brakes? Well, the answer is all about the intense competition driving the whole industry.
The way these companies see it, they're in a race for what's basically an infinite prize. Complete market dominance, unimaginable profit. And that kind of logic forces you to take shortcuts. Safety research, security, what happens to people's jobs, our mental well-being, all that stuff becomes way less important than the main goal. Just get there first, no matter the cost.
This analogy is just perfect. It captures the sheer recklessness of what's happening. Imagine someone building a nuclear reactor next door, and when you ask the head engineer, hey, how are you going to stop a meltdown? They just kind of shrug and say, yeah, we don't really have a plan for that yet. It would be completely insane, right? Unacceptable in any other industry.
The experts argue that even if you think the chance of the absolute worst-case scenario, like, say, human extinction or some AI-powered global dictator, is tiny, maybe just 1%, that risk is still completely and totally unacceptable. A 1% chance of losing everything is not a bet anyone should be allowed to make for all of us.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most critical part of their warning. We have a window of opportunity to do something about this, but believe me, it is closing fast.
Now, it's really easy to hear all this and just feel completely powerless. I get it. But the same experts who are sounding the alarm are also trying to point us toward a way out. So, what can we actually do to steer this ship in a better direction?
First, it's about public clarity. Everyone needs to understand what's at stake here. Then from there, we can start demanding better, safer AI. You know, like an AI tutor that helps kids with homework, not one that tries to become their therapist or best friend. And finally, they all stress this. Contact your policymakers. They need to hear from actual people, not just the lobbyists from the tech companies.
And this is exactly why acting now is so incredibly urgent. These are trillion-dollar companies. Their financial power gives them a massive amount of influence over our government. Their lobbying efforts could just completely drown out the political power of regular citizens, making any real democratic control almost impossible.
And that leaves us with this final, powerful warning from the people on the inside. They're arguing that we are at this unique point in history. The choices we make right now, while our human institutions still have the final say, will likely determine the entire future. It's a use it or lose it moment for our ability to shape the world we actually want to live in.